Hi, I'm Nan Simonsen. I am an author of Aging Powerfully, my book that I wrote and was published just a few weeks before I turned 70 in January of 2021. And I'm a lifestyle and health coach with Lifestyle Medical in Riverside, California. I work with patients to apply lifestyle changes that can prevent disease and treat and reverse existing disease. One of the things we talk about at Lifestyle Medical and the College of Lifestyle Medicine espouses is the value of a whole food plant-based diet. So I call my recipes in my monthly cooking classes to the clinic recipes for longevity. And one of the things that I use, as opposed to a sweetener that's an artificial sweetener that our gut bugs, our microbiome does not like, or refined sugars, is we work with whole food plant-based diet modalities. And that means that we are looking to have foods that nourish our body better than any others, and they are whole foods that are plant-based primarily or exclusively. I've been exclusively going on 3 years now, and that are as close to nature as possible. So what would I do as a sweetener? Not an artificial sweetener, no good. What about refined sugars or honey or maple syrup? Well, the more refined, the more difficult it is for us to assimilate without causing damage to our body or getting hooked on sugar. Maple syrup it's a refined natural product, not as bad as refined sugar, but what I prefer in almost all of my recipes is date paste. We take a date. This happens to be medjool. There's also the two most common that we're going to find in the US are the medjool dates, which are big and fat and soft and moist, and the Neglet Noor, which are smaller and harder and drier. I like the medjool dates. I do buy them organic. I got these from Costco. Trader Joe's sells them organic as well. And I prefer to buy them pitted, but you can't always. And so one of the things that I have to be very careful with, and we recommend to people when they're using dates, is count the number of dates that you used and then count the number of pits. Because if this pit goes in that blender because it was overlooked, it could ruin the blender or a food processor. So you want to be careful of that. The other thing is that the dates have, this one didn't, but a lot of them on their stem end will have part of the stem, and that doesn't really break down well. That's going to end up affecting your end product. So you want to pull that out as well. Here, I'll show you what the stem end looks like, see? And you can pull that off, and I don't really want that in my date paste. So now, because these were medjool, they were soft and kind of sticky. Okay. All right. So I used a pound of medjool. This was 2 pounds, came in a 2-pound container. I used a pound, took out the seeds, took out the little, the pit, took out the stem end where there was one. And I put it in my measuring glass, or just any kind of glass. Don't put boiling water, don't heat anything in plastic, because you get a transference of the materials that manufacture plastic, and we don't want those in our bodies either. And I then poured boiling water over it. So I had the dates kind of pushed down. They had already been split open because I pitted them. I put in boiling water as little as I could, just to cover by maybe a half an inch, maybe an inch. And then I let them soak, and I went off shopping and came back and poured the excess liquid into a measuring cup, and then added enough to bring it up to 1 cup. And that's what I'm going to start with. And as long as it's loose enough, I'll know my date paste is ready to go. So this is my date mass that have now been soaked. And if you haven't used dates, the difference between dates, this whole food in water that then becomes date paste, it's a thick, it's like a thick, well, thicker than a jam, a paste, almost like a peanut butter, but not that thick. The difference is that dates are full of magnesium, potassium, vitamin B, or the B vitamins, especially B6, fiber. It's a whole food that we just made a little bit more wet, as opposed to anything that was refined to change its character. And that's what our body likes. It responds well to that. And this has a lower glycemic index than something that's an artificial sugar. So I, just before I started this video, did another video for my whole grain muffins, whole grain muffins, and it's corn and oat grain muffins, even with corn in it. It's marvelous. The recipe called for a half a cup of maple syrup, and I didn't want to do that, so I used half maple syrup and half date paste. I'm going to see what I think of that, and the next time I make it, I'm going to try all date paste. The reason I didn't go 100% date paste is that I don't know if the recipe would miss that extra liquid, because maple syrup is pure liquid, whereas date paste is part date and then water added to it. So we'll see. You may want to watch that, because the muffins are yummy. And although they're slightly processed, in what way? Well, the organic corn was ground. The organic rolled oats were ground, both to make a flour. And then I added to that baking soda, baking powder, a little bit of salt, the sweetener I just mentioned, as well as some flax seed to kind of thicken things up, and some soy milk. I could have used almond milk. And then threw in a cup of corn, sweet corn. And I would show you, but they're cooking in the oven right now, almost finished. Okay, and so I use the date paste in there. I like to use date paste. I have a lot of recipes. For example, a stir-fried coconut curry stir-fry. That's one of my favorite, with pounds of vegetables. The recipe calls for a little bit of sugar. No way, I just throw in date paste. So I always keep it in my refrigerator. And love, love, love the Vitamix. Turn it on. Sorry about the sound. So this is what happens when you're working with something that's kind of thick. I may add a little bit more water to this, but we'll see. There. This is actually better with a food processor, but for the recipes I'm using today, I'm using a blender, and I didn't want to mess up my food processor, and the blender's just fine. The food processor would be able to grab it a little bit better because it has a wide open base. My date paste is usually a little bit more liquid than that, so I am going to add a 1/4 cup, scant, more liquid to it. And this will make it about as loose as I like it. And then what do I do with it? I'll show you. There. sorry. Be sure you understand, I'm not putting this spatula, even though it's silicone, into the blades of this. I'm scraping, I don't know if you can see this here, I'm scraping along the very top and just kind of pushing it forward. If I put it too close to the blades, it will slice up the spatula, and then I'll have bits of spatula in here. Why is this taking a while? Because I don't want to see, not that it would be a big deal, but because of the consistency I'm going for, and I'm showing you all this so that you'll see if you make date paste, and it's worthwhile to make it a pound at a time rather than just a little bit. There are some recipes for date paste that say, oh, use a cup of dates. I'd rather use an entire pound, which is about 2.5 cups, almost 3 cups. The point being that if I'm making it and it's going to take a minute, I don't want it to be something I have to make often. This is perfect. It smells like caramel. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put some in a jar. Can you see? Yes. And I'm going to be doing an interview on Thursday with Chef AJ, and I'm doing a cooking demonstration. And what I'm going to be cooking calls for I'm not right-handed. I don't know why I'm doing that with my right hand. Maybe because I wanted you to see, but I think you have. Is going to call for a cup of date paste. So normally I would freeze part of this, and I'll show you in a minute how I would freeze it. But because I'm going to use a cup of it, which only leaves me about 3/4 of a cup left, I'm not going to freeze a lot of it because I use it all the time. And actually, you know what? Let me show you what I was going to say. I like these containers. They're called, what are they called? Oh, man. Oh, Super Cubes. Got them from Amazon or on Amazon. There are different sizes. This one, each of these indentations is a 1/2 cup, and yet it's marked with 1/4 of a cup. I have it marked, I have 1 cup sizes that are marked with a 1/2 cup down in size. I have 2 cup sizes. What's the value? I can put, well, let me show you something. Sorry. I can put a volume of things in these. For example, I don't use applesauce to, let me get my muffin out. Yeah. There they are. Here are my muffins. Oh boy, oh boy. I'm going to let them cool a little bit. They're in a silicone cup, so I'm going to let them cool. But they smell wonderful. In the muffins, or the muffins called for applesauce. Well, when I buy, you know what? It fell down on the counter. And that was good, yum. I buy a jar of organic applesauce, usually Honeycrisp, but it doesn't really matter. And, well, I like the flavor of it. And I don't just eat applesauce, so I put the leftover applesauce in here, and look what it gives me when I churn them out, because the value of silicone is you just squeeze it out and the piece will come right out. So I put my date paste, when I do a lot of it and I don't need this much, I put my date paste in here. And can you see what I have from the applesauce? These little cubes of applesauce that are each 1/2 cup. Isn't that handy? And I've labeled it 1/2 cup unsweetened applesauce. And for 3 more of these recipes, if I don't, or of this particular recipe, if I don't use it for something else, and I've used applesauce for other recipes, I have it already pre-measured, frozen, and ready to go. So when you do things like that, it makes whole food plant-based really easy, because you have things ready to go. That's why I said, if you can do a pound of dates, do a pound of dates. If you can do a pound and a half of dates, do a pound and a half. I'm so tempted to just put one of what I have left in here, but I don't think I will, just because I have a couple of other recipes that I'm going to be playing with. I'm making a sweet potato, a Japanese sweet potato bean brownie for my daughter's birthday on Wednesday night. She's bringing over a friend for dinner, and that calls for date paste too. So I need everything that I've got here. But normally this jar would be, well, more than enough. And yet again, I'm using a cup for one recipe, and I'm going to use the rest of this for another. So I hope this was handy. I know I kind of went on and on, but I think this is how handy to know about. Let me show you the corn muffin, only because then you might take the time to find the video. Oh, there we go. Look at that. Oh, can you see the corn on it? Anyway, look for the corn muffin video, and I think that's that. Hope you're having a great day, because I know I am. Please help me spread the message, spread the word. That's my mission. I would like to see people my age, I'd like to see them younger and older in much better shape than most are. And it's because of lifestyle, and it's because of the standard American diet, and Whole Foods can turn that all around. We just can turn it all around. We just need people to know that that's possible. Oh, and when you do muffins, the best way to cool them, I don't know why I'm showing you this. I need to show the other group this. The people that will see the first part of the video. Cool them on a rack. Okay, bye-bye.